Usually you can tell whether a puzzle was 3D printed or mass-produced with injection molds. The injection molded parts are significantly smoother and overall the puzzle just has a more consistent feeling. But can a 3D printed puzzle ever look and feel like a mass-produced puzzle? Well, if you put a ton of effort into finishing parts, you can actually get really close. This is the beautiful Ghost Tower, and it's by far the highest quality FDM printed puzzle currently in my collection. This work of art was designed by Brian, who goes by B-Cubes. He makes some really interesting puzzles and intermittently sells some of them, so definitely go check his work out on Instagram. In today's video, I'll explain how to design a puzzle similar to this in CAD, look at how Brian finished this puzzle's parts to be so professional looking, and finally scramble and solve the Ghost Tower. There's timestamps if you want to skip around, but first let me briefly explain the huge collaboration the Ghost Tower is a part of. Since 2018, a yearly event has been running on YouTube showing 24 brand new custom-made puzzles in a daily series. It's always been a mixture of bigger and smaller creators, showing puzzles they either made themselves or that had been sent to them. The goal is to encourage innovation in the puzzle design space, and also to give newer puzzle makers a platform to show their work to a bigger audience. There's a mix of both twisty puzzles like Rubik's Cubes and other types of physical puzzles like packing puzzles and puzzle boxes. The Ghost Tower is the 10th puzzle in this year's series, so make sure to check out the playlist with all the other puzzles and subscribe to the person making tomorrow's video, linked below along with an interest form for the 2024 Advent Calendar if you're interested in participating. I've never designed a ghost puzzle, so I think it'd be interesting to go through the process of designing something like this. Ghost puzzles are shape mods that typically keep the same shape as their base puzzle in the solved state, but the shape itself is turned in a three-dimensional space. In addition, two of the puzzle's turning axes are inaccessible from the solved state, so you have to offset the layers on the remaining axis to actually manipulate the puzzle properly. The Ghost Tower is an extension mod, and the base puzzle is a WitEden 2x2x4. So let's generate a rectangular prism with the same dimensions, and some extra planes to split the outer layers. Now, let's generate a larger rectangular prism that will be our final shape. We need to rotate this outer prism, so let's generate some axes we can use for that. Now, let's turn the outer prism on these three axes by arbitrary degrees, making sure that the inner prism doesn't get too close to poking out, by checking the hidden lines view to make sure. Let's subtract the inner prism from the outer one so that we're now left with a hollow outer prism. We're now ready to split parts. We'll first make the cuts that are available to turn in the solved state. Then we turn all four layers by arbitrary degree amounts and cut using the remaining two planes. After turning all the layers back into the rectangular prism shape, we are done. Obviously from here you'd add final touches like fillets and a sticker template, but this is just for demonstration purposes, so I don't feel the need to. The Ghost Tower, like Brian's other puzzles, was printed on a Prusa Mark IV in Hatchbox PETG. I also have a Prusa Mark IV and it's an excellent printer. For PETG, you have to use the textured sheet on your build plate, because PETG can damage a smooth or satin sheet by bonding to it too well. The choice of PETG for this puzzle makes the finish achieved even more impressive in my opinion. I don't enjoy sanding PLA as it takes a while to get smooth. Now here you have PETG, which is even harder to sand. Combined with the internals also being sanded, this puzzle must have genuinely taken an eternity for Brian to finish. The first thing I noticed is just how seamless the transition between the base 2x2x4 and 3D printed parts is. On puzzles like this 4x4 Evil Twin, it's obvious where the base puzzle ends and the 3D printed parts begin. But here it's nearly seamless. That's because Brian first filled in the gaps with epoxy sculpt, which is a filling material, and then sanded the epoxy sculpt to be as flush as possible with the 2x2x4 part in the 3D printed extension. That takes a lot of extra time, but it gives the entire puzzle a much more premium feeling. The parts are sanded with 4 different grits, those being 150, 320, 1000, and 3000. Afterwards, the pieces are smooth, but they lose the deep black color they started out with and turn more gray. To bring back this black color, Brian polished all the pieces with Plastex, which seems to have worked decently, but is not a technique I've personally tried as of yet. The result of all this sanding and polishing is a very smooth puzzle. I genuinely can't feel any of the layer lines anymore. You can actually see the difference by looking at this really cool stand Brian sent with the puzzle. The inside is as it was straight off the printer, while the outside was finished similarly to the ghost tower. This took an insane amount of effort, which I don't think I'd personally ever put in for one of my own puzzles. My goal is to get the sticker faces smooth so that stickers don't fall off, and pretty much it. I'm okay with my puzzles being noticeably 3D printed as long as they turn well and the actual print quality is solid. The stickers are holographic vinyl from Amazon. I'm going to try and be careful with them because the holographic stickers I've used scratch very easily. This is a different brand of vinyl though, so maybe it holds up better. So that's how a puzzle like this gets made. I think the process is fascinating and it really shows what you can achieve if you want your puzzle to look and feel mass-produced. Now I'll scramble and solve the ghost tower. Right after this B-roll. It's time to scramble the ghost tower. As with any cuboid, I'll first scramble the outer layers without shapeshifting, and then scramble the inner layers which will make the outer layers no longer accessible to turn. The first step of solving a shape-shifting cuboid like this is to get it back into its original shape, from which all turns are accessible as the puzzle is no longer bandaged. I'm pretty much just solving the inner two layers like a 2x2. This being a ghost puzzle makes it significantly more difficult to see which pieces go where, so a lot of the time I just need to put pieces next to each other and see if they match. One nice consequence of this being a cuboid is that the correct part orientations are known, since the outer layers have to line up with each other in the solved state. So that should make it easier to match pieces up than something like a ghost 3x3, where they could be oriented in 3 ways and it's not immediately obvious which way is correct, so it makes it harder to match stuff up. Now that the inner layers are solved, it's time to solve the outer layers. These should come together just like the outer layers of a 2x2x3, with maybe some more complex permutations that should still be easy to solve. And finally, the ghost tower is solved. It was nice and challenging, but not too annoying to solve. I want to once again give a big thanks to Brian for sending it out. Make sure to check out the other advent calendar puzzles in the playlist, and subscribe to the creator making tomorrow's video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.